I want to share a finding that, when I first read it, stopped me completely. Rush University Medical Center in Chicago operates one of the most respected longitudinal aging research programs in the world. The Rush Memory and Aging Project has been following thousands of older adults for decades, tracking their cognitive function and lifestyle habits. In 2010, researchers from this project published a study in the Archives of General Psychiatry. They measured sense of purpose in life. The results were extraordinary. Adults who scored in the highest third on purpose in life were 2.4 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. 2.4 times. Even after controlling for depressive symptoms, neuroticism, physical activity, education level, and income, not slightly associated. 2.4 times less likely to develop the most feared neurodegenerative disease from a psychological characteristic. The finding was replicated. Higher purpose was associated with significantly slower rates of cognitive decline across multiple domains. Purpose was associated with slower progression from mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's disease. The effect size is massive. It is larger than the protective effect of exercise. It is one of the largest independent cognitive protective factors ever identified. And yet, almost nobody is talking about it. Most brain health protocols do not include purpose as a biological variable. Today, we change that. You are going to understand the specific biological mechanisms through which purpose protects the aging brain. You will understand how Ikigai, the Japanese concept of reason for being, translates into measurable neurological protection, and you are going to have a research-grounded protocol for building the sense of purpose that your brain literally depends on. Let's start with the biology, because the purpose-brain connection is not simply a philosophical or psychological observation. It operates through specific, identifiable, measurable neurobiological mechanisms. The first mechanism involves the hypothalamic-pituitary-adrenal axis, the stress response system we've addressed throughout this series. Adults with high sense of purpose show measurably different cortisol profiles than adults with low purpose, specifically lower waking cortisol levels. The experience of having purpose appears to buffer the HPA axis against the chronic overactivation that drives cortisol-mediated cognitive aging. Research published in Psychoneuroendocrinology found that purpose was independently associated with lower diurnal cortisol levels and better regulatory patterns. The effect size was comparable to mindfulness-based stress reduction. But purpose operated through a fundamentally different baseline orientation toward the world. Lower cortisol means better BDNF expression, stronger synaptic density, slower telomere shortening, and reduced epigenetic clock acceleration. The second mechanism involves the default mode network. Research shows high-purpose adults have DMN activity oriented toward constructive self-reflection. Purpose directs DMN activity toward productive internal processing, rather than toward the ruminative churning that drives cognitive resource depletion. The third mechanism involves BDNF directly. States of eudaimonic well-being, meaning and engagement, are associated with higher BDNF gene expression. A study found eudaimonic well-being was associated with downregulation of inflammatory pathways and upregulation of antiviral and antibody synthesis. The fourth mechanism involves hippocampal volume preservation. Adults with higher purpose showed measurably greater hippocampal volume, our primary memory center. The hippocampal preservation was not trivial. It was comparable in magnitude to the volume preservation associated with regular physical exercise. The mechanism likely involves cortisol reduction, BDNF elevation, and reduced neuroinflammation, maintaining the environment necessary for adult neurogenesis. The Japanese concept of Ikigai, often translated as reason for being or reason to wake up in the morning, provides the most practically useful framework for understanding and developing sense of purpose in the context of brain health after 50. Ikigai is traditionally represented as the intersection of four circles: what you love, the activities, people, and experiences that produce genuine engagement and joy; what you are good at, your developed skills, accumulated wisdom, and areas of genuine competence; what the world needs, the ways in which your capacities can meaningfully serve others or contribute to something larger than yourself, and what you can be rewarded for. The sustainable exchange of your contributions for the resources that support your continued engagement. The intersection of all four circles, where what you love meets what you are good at, meets what the world needs, meets what you can be sustained by, is Ikigai. It is not necessarily a profession. It is not necessarily a single activity. It is a fundamental orientation toward the world, a sense of intrinsic value. Research has operationalized this concept through psychological scales. The most widely used is the Purpose in Life test, developed based on Viktor Frankl's work. The neuroscience research consistently shows that it is this specific directedness component, the sense of having goals and meaning, that drives the cognitive protective effects. The brain health protective factor is the purpose, not the hedonic happiness. How do you measure your current sense of purpose? Honestly reflect on these 5 questions. Do you feel that most days of your life have a clear direction or purpose? Can you articulate a reason, beyond self-care, why what you do matters? Do you have goals that feel genuinely important? Do you feel that your life makes a difference to the people or the community around you, even in small ways? And when you wake up in the morning, is there something specific that calls you forward, rather than something to be endured? The answers to these questions reveal whether purpose is a strong component of your biology, or whether it requires intentional attention. Understanding why sense of purpose declines for many adults after 50, and why this decline is a genuine biological brain health crisis, is essential. The primary structural driver of purpose decline after 50 is role transition. For most, professional identity has been the primary source of purpose. Career goals, professional development, and the social identity from occupational roles provide a framework of direction that shapes daily life for decades. Retirement, or even the anticipation of it, removes this framework. The transition is often experienced as a loss of purposeful living. Working hours provided financial reward, and often unrecognized, a framework of goals, challenges, and contributions that gave daily life its sense of direction. Research on cognitive trajectories around retirement has found a consistent pattern, a measurable increase in cortisol reactivity, and a reduction in cognitive engagement. This acceleration of cognitive decline is most prominent for adults who had not developed alternative sources of purpose during their working years. The second driver is the loss of social roles. Children grow up and become independent. Parents die. Community roles diminish. Without intentional replacement, the sense of being needed, of mattering, and of contributing to others fades, impacting biological brain health. The third driver is the existential dimension. Awareness of mortality can either deepen purpose or erode it through a nihilistic response to impermanence. Adults finding finite time deepens commitment to things that matter. Show brain protective profiles. Those seeing mortality as undermining effort show accelerated aging. Research shows retirement is associated with a 25% increase in memory decline and a 26% increase in mobility limitations. These effects are mediated substantially through the reduction in cognitive engagement and social purpose that retirement often produces. This doesn't mean retirement is harmful. It means that retirement without intentional purpose construction is what causes the damage. Adults who retire into rich engagement and clear, purposeful direction show no cognitive acceleration. The harmful variable is purposeless leisure time. The purpose protocol is different from every other protocol in this series. It cannot be implemented through a supplement, a device, or a dietary change. It requires the most fundamental behavioral and psychological resource you have, your genuine attention to what matters most to you and why. Purpose operates through cortisol, BDNF, and hippocampal volume. The biology is as real as any supplement, but the pathway runs through your internal work. Practice 1. Purpose mapping. The first step is clarity, an honest assessment of where purpose lives in your life and where it is absent. Draw 4 overlapping circles. In the first, write what produces genuine aliveness. In the second, your unique skills and accumulated wisdom. In the third, the needs of your community. In the fourth, how your skills can be sustainably exchanged for what you need to live. The intersection is your Ikigai landscape. Look for combinations that produce a subtle internal recognition of yes. These are your starting points. Practice 2. Contribution goal setting. Research shows purpose is most protective when oriented toward something larger than personal well-being. Identify one contribution goal and structure your week around it. Mentoring, craftsmanship, or deepening a relationship, the scale matters less than authenticity. Stanford research found adults with specific contribution goals showed significantly better cognitive trajectories over 5-year periods than those without this framework. Practice 3. Meaningful role construction. If purpose was lost through retirement, build new roles that fit your current life stage through intentionality. The most protective roles involve skill contribution, social engagement, and ongoing learning. Teaching, mentoring, or leadership in community organizations are powerful examples. Practice 4. Mortality integration. Awareness of finite time creates urgency toward authentic engagement. Adults who integrate this awareness show brain protective profiles, write a legacy letter, or perform the eulogy exercise. These practices clarify what you want your life to have stood for. Regular brief reflection ensures your activities align with these priorities. This is the essence of building biological and psychological resilience through purpose. 35 videos. And with purpose, we have reached what I believe is the deepest and most fundamentally human dimension of brain health after 50. Every other mechanism in this series addresses a specific biological process. Purpose addresses the orientation of the entire life. The relationship between the person and their existence creates the biological context in which every other mechanism operates. Purpose and cortisol. Ashwagandha reduces cortisol pharmacologically. Purpose reduces cortisol through the psychological-biological interface, through the HPA axis modulation that eudaimonic orientation produces. Purpose and BDNF. Exercise increases BDNF through the physical pathway. Novelty and challenge increase BDNF through the learning pathway. Purpose increases BDNF through the psychological genomic pathway. 3 independent BDNF activation mechanisms operating simultaneously. Purpose and social connection. The most cognitively protective social connections are those with purposeful depth, relationships characterized by genuine contribution and shared meaning. Purpose deepens social connection. Social connection sustains purpose. They are bidirectionally amplifying mechanisms. Purpose and the DMN. Nature reduces DMN rumination through attentional restoration. Purpose reduces DMN rumination through directedness. By giving the DMN something constructive to work with, future planning, contribution consideration, meaning-making, rather than the ruminative cycling of purposeless existence. Purpose and sleep. The anxiety and rumination that purposeless existence produces is a primary driver of sleep onset difficulty and sleep fragmentation. Purpose creates the psychological conditions for sleep onset that magnesium glycinate, L-theanine, and apigenin support neurochemically. Purpose and neuroplasticity. Learning piano as a recreational activity produces neuroplasticity. Learning to contribute to a community ensemble produces even more. Purpose and epigenetic aging. The cortisol reduction from purpose slows the cortisol-driven epigenetic clock acceleration that drives biological aging. Adults with high purpose show measurably slower epigenetic aging, confirming that purposeful living translates into the genomic expression of slower biological aging. Purpose and vagal tone. Purpose-driven social contribution is simultaneously a social connection intervention and a vagal tone intervention. 35 mechanisms. The system is now as complete as any I know of in contemporary brain health science, addressing biological and existential dimensions. The quality of your cognitive aging is determined by the orientation of your life, what you choose to engage with, learn, and contribute. The brain we're protecting is the instrument through which you experience everything that makes your life meaningful. It is a deeply personal project. Here is your action plan. Do the Ikigai mapping exercise. Set aside 2 hours of reflection. Draw the 4 circles honestly. Coming up next week, the specific impact of temperature on brain aging. Finish sauna studies, cold water immersion, and thermogenic stress. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Thank you for 35 videos. Stay sharp. Stay purposeful. Stay vital. I will see you next week.